Good morning, students. This is Dr. Maushmi Paul from LBSM College, Jamshedpur. Today, we are going to study lectures on history of the English language. It is in the syllabus of semester 3, UG semester 3, paper 7. Now, this video has been uploaded with some contents and important questions that will be benefited for your preparation. Now, general character of English. The English language is spoken or read by the largest number of people in the world for historical, political, and economic reasons. But it also owes something of its worldwide appeal to the qualities and characteristics inherent in itself. The following are some of the characteristic features which contribute to making English a language of worldwide significance. The first and the most important of these features is its extraordinary receptive and adaptable heterogeneousness, the varied ease and readiness with which it has taken to itself material from almost everywhere in the world and has made the borrowed material its own. When the Anglo-Saxons first conquered England in the 5th and 6th centuries, English was almost a pure or unmixed language and capable of making new words for new ideas out of its native resources. It had hardly any foreign words, but now it has become the most mixed of languages, having received throughout its history all kinds of foreign elements with ease and assimilated them all to its own character, though the copious heterogeneousness, which is even more striking, this general receptiveness of new elements has made English a suitable and attractive vehicle in so many parts of the world. A second outstanding characteristic of English is its simplicity of inflections, the ease with which it indicates the relationship of words in a sentence almost without endings or changing the shapes of words. There are languages such as Chinese which have greater inflectional simplicity, but English has gone further than other European languages in reducing the inflections it once had to a minimum. A natural consequence of the simplification of inflection by reduction is that the relationship of words to one another is no longer made clear by their endings. This relationship is indicated by prepositions for the cases of nouns and by auxiliaries for the tense of the verbs. With the help of prepositions and auxiliary verbs, we are now able to express almost every shade of thought which was formerly rendered by changes in the form of nouns and verbs. A third outstanding characteristic of English is its fixed word order. An inflected language like Latin or Russian or Sanskrit or Bengali can afford to freely arrange its words as the inflections show clearly the proper relationship in the sentence and there is no likelihood of ambiguity. But in a language which does not change the forms of its words to indicate their relationship in the sentence, the order of the words must be fixed, and a fixed word order in relation to meaning in the sentence takes the place of the freedom made possible by the system of inflections. Thus, inflections gives us the freedom to transpose the positions of the nouns in the Bengali sentence Ram Shyamke dekhechilo without changing the meaning. Shyamke dekhechilo Ram. As English uses fixed word order, we cannot transpose the positions of the nouns in the sentence Ram saw Shyam for the sake of meaning. If we transpose the positions of the nouns Shyam saw Ram, the meaning is reversed. A fourth outstanding characteristic of English is the development of new variety of intonations to express shades of meanings which were formerly indicated by varying shapes of words. This is perhaps somewhat comparable to the vast use of intonation in Chinese as a method of expressing meaning in sentences which would otherwise seem series of unvarying monosyllabic roots. Thus, we may make the word do express the wonderful variety of shades of meaning merely by varying the intonation, that is, the pitch and intensity, the tone of the voice. A sixth quality of English is its masculinity. It is, according to Jesperson, positively and expressly masculine. It is the language of a grown-up man and has very little childish or feminine about it. Such qualities as fixed order, word order, reduction of inflections to the minimum, sobriety in expression, logic of facts, freedom from pedantry bear out its masculinity. Of all the above qualities, it is the adaptable receptiveness and the simplicity of inflections that have contributed to making the language a world language. Now coming to the next important chapter, origins and beginnings of Indo-European family of languages. The existence of English as a separate language began when Germanic tribes, example Angles, Saxons, Jutes, had conquered England and settled there permanently. The dialects spoken by the settlers in England belonged to the Germanic or Teutonic branch of the most important of the family of languages termed Indo-European, formerly called Indo-Germanic and still earlier Aryan. Indo-European was spoken in 3500 BC to 3000 BC by a nomadic people who wandered in the plains of Ukraine and southern Russia. By 2000 BC, Indo-European was split into 8 dialects, each of which gradually developed into a new language. Thus, from the parent Indo-European, there developed 8 groups, which are again divided roughly into an eastern and a western set of groups. The eastern set comprises 6 groups of languages, which are commonly referred to as Satem languages. The 6 eastern groups are Indian, which includes Sanskrit, Pali, and many living languages of India; Iranian, including modern Persian, Czech, Polish, etc., Armenian, ancient and modern with its various dialects, and finally Albanian. The western set comprises 4 groups of languages, commonly referred to as Centum languages. The 4 western groups are Greek, ancient and modern with their dialect, Latin with the modern Romanic languages, Italian, Spanish, French, etc., Celtic, which survives in the modern languages of Wales, Ireland, the Scottish Highlands, and finally the Germanic group, which comprises the languages of Germany, Scandinavia, Holland, as well as English. Modern Scandinavian languages include Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, Icelandic, etc. Now, part 2, characteristic of Indo-European. Indo-European was a highly inflected and synthetic language. The relation of words in a sentence was directly indicated by means of inflections. We can have some idea of the IE, an inflected language inflectional system, by studying the Latin inflectional system. The English sentence, the master can beat the servant, rendered in Latin as Dominus Serum Uberate. If we alter the order of words, Serum Uberate Dominus, it still means the master beat the servant. English uses word order to indicate who the beater is and who the beaten, but in Latin, this information is conveyed by the inflections us, us and um. If we wish to say the servant beat the master, we must change these endings and write serus dominum uberate. Like Sanskrit, Indo-European had 8 cases: nominative, accusative, dative, genitive, instrumental, optative, locative, and vocative for nouns, pronouns, and adjectives, and 3 numbers, singular, dual for 2 persons and things, and plural. There were separate inflections for each case and number. Indo-European had functions of importance for both the stress and accent, but this stress was free, that is, it could be on different parts of the same word according to context and meaning. This free stress has been preserved in Russian. Indo-European had an elaborate and complex phonetic system. It had the vowels A, E, O, both long and short. There were also a group of sounds called sonants, which were I, U, L, M, N, R, and intermediate between vowels and consonants. An idea of the IE phonetic system may be best gathered from Greek, which has preserved the old phonetic system with great fidelity. In Indo-European, each noun belonged to one of 3 genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter, but this division did not correspond to the natural division into living beings of male sex, living beings of female sex, and everything else. In other words, the IE gender system was grammatical, that is, depended on the form of words. As in Hindi, Old English gives us some idea of the IE gender system. In Old English, stan, stone, and wifman, woman, were masculine. Son was feminine, and wif, wife or a woman, and child. Some important questions for you students in the last slide. Thank you for watching.